More than 7,000 years of human settlements have witnessed this city, now the capital of Bulgaria, and recognizable by the golden domes of its grand cathedral. Travel companions, we welcome you to Sofia. Sofia was the first city we were going to visit on our tour of the Balkans, but in the end, it was the last. A flight cancellation and some last-minute changes made us reorganize the whole trip, and instead of 3 days, we could only spend 2. That's why we're telling you in advance. If you can, stay at least 1 more day. You'll understand why later. But, as always, if you're looking for a detailed itinerary with distances, prices, and practical tips made by real travelers, you're in the right place. Let's get our bearings. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria, located in the west of the country, very close to the border with Serbia and North Macedonia, and at the foot of Mount Vitosha. It is one of the oldest cities in Europe, inhabited for more than 7,000 years. Once called Serdica in Roman times, it is now the country's political, cultural, and economic center. Many may have heard of it as one of the most affordable European capitals for vacationing. But what else is there? Travel companions, let's explore the itinerary together as we go. Day 1 in Sofia. We started from our hotel, which was very well located, so we could walk almost everywhere. So just a heads up, we're going to be walking a lot. As always, all hotel details and useful tips for your visit are in the practical information section at the end of the video. A very short walk, just 2 blocks, took us to the pedestrian Vitoja Boulevard. It's a place you'll probably come back to several times during your stay, whether it's to eat, to meet up with the Fritter guide, or simply to stroll through its shops and watch the daily hustle and bustle of locals and tourists. It's a walk we recommend taking at a leisurely pace. And since we mentioned it from the beginning, the Fritter is, as we always say, an excellent way to have your first contact with the city. The reservation is made for free, and at the end of the tour, everyone leaves the payment they consider appropriate. We'll leave the link in the description and also in the QR code that appears on the screen so you can make the reservation. Walking along Vitoja Boulevard is, as I was saying, a must in Sofia. It's a lively, pleasant space, ideal for starting to discover the city in a relaxed way. Here we have 2 options to start the walk. You can go down the boulevard in one direction or the other. In both ways, you'll find interesting spots. We chose to walk first toward the National Palace of Culture, which is about 900 meters away. As we move forward, some buildings start to show neon signs and fonts that clearly evoke the aesthetics of the socialist period. That contrast between the past, the recent, and the modern city is something we will notice several times during our walk through Sofia. The National Palace of Culture, known as National Palace of Culture, is one of the most representative buildings of contemporary Sofia. It was inaugurated in 1981 to commemorate the 1,300 years of the Bulgarian state during the socialist era. Today, it serves as a center for congresses, exhibitions, and concerts, and in 2005, it was recognized as one of the best congress centers in the world. Beyond its current function, its architecture is very representative of the monumentality typical of that socialist era. Straight lines, large volumes, open spaces, and a sense of scale that impresses visitors. In front of the building, there is a large park with fountains and places to rest, inviting you to stop and walk without hurry and to begin to understand that mix of ancient history and recent past that defines Sofia. Now it was time to retrace my steps to explore another part of the city. Our next stop would be the Orthodox Cathedral of Sveta Nedelya. We had 1,300 meters to go, but the distance passed by without us noticing, as we were entertained walking along the pedestrian street. The Sveta Nedelya Cathedral is one of the most important Orthodox churches in Sofia. Its origins date back to the Middle Ages, although the current building mostly dates from the 20th century. From the outside, it's simple, featuring a large central dome and a striking presence in the middle of the square. Inside, as in many Orthodox churches, golden icons predominate, and there is a solemn atmosphere. Admission is free, since it is an active place of worship, although if you want to take photos inside, a small contribution may be requested. But this place was also the scene of a tragic episode in Bulgarian history. In 1925, during the funeral of a high-ranking military officer, an attack took place here that aimed to eliminate part of the country's political leadership. More than 150 people died, and it was one of the most serious attacks in Europe during that period. The then Tsar Boris III was supposed to attend, but he was not in the church at the time of the explosion. Today, beyond that episode, the cathedral once again serves its religious function and is an essential part of the landscape in the historic center of Sofia. The walk to get here had perhaps been a bit longer, but now we would have several points of interest, all very close to each other. Almost in front of the cathedral, just 180 meters away, we find the Church of St. George. It's small, intimate, but truly a place worth visiting. The Church of St. George is the oldest building preserved in Sofia. It's a red brick construction with a circular floor plan, known as the Rotunda of St. George. It was built in the 4th century during Roman times, when the city was called Serdica. In fact, it was part of a larger complex that included administrative buildings and imperial residences. Throughout the centuries, it had different uses: a Christian church, a mosque during the Ottoman period, and once again an Orthodox temple. Inside, medieval frescoes are still preserved, layered on top of each other, reflecting the different stages of its history. It is a small, quiet place, almost hidden among more modern buildings, but with an impressive historical significance. After leaving the Church of St. George, we return to the main street. And there, even before crossing, an impossible-to-ignore figure appears before us: the imposing statue of Sofia. The monument to Sofia was inaugurated in the year 2000 and has become one of the modern symbols of the city. It represents a female figure that combines elements of wisdom, fame, and protection. In one hand, she holds a laurel crown, and in the other, an owl, a traditional symbol of wisdom. It stands over 20 meters tall and occupies the place where a statue of Lenin once stood, which was removed after the fall of the communist regime. It's interesting how this spot sums up part of the country's recent history, the transition from the socialist period to a new era. We then cross the street, leaving the statue behind, and almost at ground level, somewhat hidden among the traffic and the archaeological remains, we find a small church that many people overlook. The Church of Sveta Petka is small, simple, and partially sunk below the current street level. It dates back to the 11th century and is one of the best preserved medieval temples in Sofia. For centuries, it managed to survive different periods of occupation and urban transformations, which is almost unbelievable, seeing how the modern city completely surrounds it. And now, our steps. Even though it seemed unbelievable, we're walking through the ancient Roman city. Sofia was called Serdica in Roman times, a name that comes from the Thracian tribe of the Serdi, who lived in that region before the arrival of Rome. In the 1st century AD, the city was incorporated into the Roman Empire and became an important administrative and commercial center in the Balkans. In fact, Emperor Constantine the Great even said, "Serdica is my Rome," which gives an idea of how important it was at the time. Today, beneath the modern center of Sofia, you can see remains of streets, houses, baths, and walls. These allow us to imagine what life was like here 2,000 years ago. There's no cost to take this tour of the ruins either. We kept moving forward. Our eagerness to explore the city made us hardly notice the passage of time. So, just about 100 meters ahead, we arrived at the Bani Abashi Mosque. Thank you. The Bani Abashi Mosque was built in the 16th century during the Ottoman period, and it is one of the few active mosques left in Sofia. Its name means many baths, since it was built over ancient hot springs. Its architecture is elegant and well-proportioned, with a large central dome and a minaret that stand out. The urban profile. It is another example of how different religions and cultures have left their mark on this city. Very close to the mosque, there is one of the most elegant buildings in this area, the Central Baths of Sofia. Built at the beginning of the 20th century over ancient thermal springs that were already used by the Romans, for decades it was the city's great public bathhouse. Its colorful facade, with ceramic details and domes, really stands out. In some ways, the building's exterior reminded us a bit of the thermal baths in Budapest. Today, they no longer function as baths. The building houses the Sofia History Museum, where you can learn about the city's evolution from ancient times to the present. Outside, however, you can still see locals filling bottles at the hot mineral water fountains, a tradition that is still very much alive. Are you enjoying the video, or is it mainly helpful to you? If so, if you're enjoying planning your itinerary with us, or simply discovering the city, we encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any of our video guide itineraries made by real travelers. Give us a like and share it with those people you know. And you know, just like you and me, we like to create our own itineraries. Let's continue. Just a few steps away across the street is the Sofia Central Market. Due to its impressive architecture, the work of Naum Thor Bob, the Sofia Central Market was granted the status of Cultural Monument of National Importance. For years, it was the main covered market in the city, and after a recent restoration, it reopened its doors, combining traditional stalls with more modern gastronomic and commercial spaces. It's a good place to stop, try something local, or simply watch everyday life. From here, we decided to continue walking towards the Bridge of the Lions, which is about 600 meters away. It's a somewhat less touristy area, and depending on the time of day, it can feel quieter or less busy. As always, every city has areas that are livelier than others, and our recommendation is to explore it with common sense, just like in any big city.
Subscribe to the channel, thank you.
The Lions Bridge was built at the end of the 19th century and owes its name to the 4 sculptures that guard it, one on each corner.
Subscribe to the channel.
It is one of the historic entrances to the city center, and for decades marked the northern limit of the most urban part of Sofia. Today, it is an important transit point and an interesting stop to understand how the city grew beyond its historic core.
Subscribe.
To finish the walk, we head to a nearby shopping mall, which is ideal if you need to take a break, have something to drink, or simply rest after a busy day. At night, we return to Vito Boulevard for dinner. All the restaurants are very nice. We chose this fast food place because it was already very late, but it turned out to be a really good option. Here we leave the name and the receipt of what we ordered, just so you have an idea. There were 4 of us. We haven't talked yet about the currency of Bulgaria. It's the Bulgarian lev. €1 is equal to about 1.96 lev. So, rounding it to 2 will make it easier to do the mental conversion when making any purchase. Now it's time to rest, because another day in Sofia awaits us. Day 2 in Sofia. The city was waking up, and we were already eager to see some of its most iconic places. We had breakfast at the hotel and went out again to explore the city on foot, about 700 meters away. The first stop would be at the city park, the oldest park in Sofia, a small green lung right in the center, where locals of all ages gather to chat, play chess, or simply rest on a bench under the solitude shade of the trees. Around the garden, you can find some of the most elegant buildings in the city, such as the old royal palace and several cultural institutions, which gives this corner a very stately atmosphere. And right there, dominating the landscape with its white facade and red details, is the Ivan Basov National Theater. Inaugurated in 1907, it is the most important theater in Bulgaria and one of the cultural symbols of the capital. Its neoclassical architecture, the imposing columns, and the sculptures on the pediment make it one of the most photogenic buildings in Sofia. If you come early, like we did, you can enjoy it much more peacefully and appreciate that contrast between the elegance of the theater and the everyday life of the park. If you visit Sofia in March, it's very likely that you'll see many people with small red and white bracelets on their wrists. It's the tradition of the Martinitsa, which are given as gifts on the 1st of March to welcome spring and wish for health and good fortune. They are worn until you see the first stork, a swallow, or a blossoming tree, at which point you tie them to a branch. A small cultural detail that says a lot about the spirit of this country. So if you look up after the beginning of spring, you'll see red and white ribbons tied to the branches. They're bracelets. And if you want to take one with you, you can find them in souvenir shops. Tradition says that Martinitsas are always given as gifts, not bought for oneself. They're given to loved ones, friends, and close people. Just a few steps from the theater, along the edge of the park, we come across another impressive building, the Royal Palace of Sofia. Built at the end of the 19th century, it was the residence of the Bulgarian royal family after the liberation from Ottoman rule. Today, it is no longer a palace. It now houses the National Art Gallery and the Ethnographic Museum. It is part of the same monumental complex that gives character to this area of the city center. Just a few meters further, almost hidden among trees and official buildings, you'll find one of the most charming sights in the city, the Russian Church of St. Nikolai. Small, delicate, and with its unmistakable golden onion-shaped domes, it was built at the beginning of the 20th century for the Russian community in Sofia. Its distinctly Russian style sets it apart from the other Orthodox churches in the city and gives it an almost fairy tale-like atmosphere. From here, we would walk 350 meters further. And now, we finally arrived at the great symbol of the city, the long-awaited cathedral, Alexander Nevsky. Imposing, majestic, impossible to ignore. Its golden domes shine even on cloudy days, and it has become the most recognizable image of Sofia. It was built between 1982 and 1912 as a tribute to the Russian soldiers who died in the Russo-Turkish War, a conflict that led to Bulgaria's liberation from Ottoman rule. Its style is Neo-Byzantine, and it is one of the largest Orthodox cathedrals in Europe. It can accommodate about 5,000 people inside and outside. From the outside, its size is impressive, but once you enter, the feeling changes. The light is dim, the atmosphere is solemn, and the walls are covered with icons and frescoes. The main altar, the huge lamps, and the marble used in its construction speak of the importance this church has, not only on a religious level, but also historically and nationally. Beneath the cathedral, there is also a crypt that houses an interesting collection of Orthodox icons, considered one of the most important in the Balkans. It's more than a church, it's a national symbol. And although there are many corners to discover, this is undoubtedly the place that sums up its history, its faith, and its character. Entrance to the cathedral is free. And right behind the imposing cathedral, almost in contrast due to its simplicity, there is another fundamental temple to understand the city, the Church of St. Sofia. If the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral is the visual symbol of Sofia, this church is its origin. Built in the 6th century, during the reign of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I, it stands on top of older ancient temples and was one of the most important religious centers in the region. Over time, the city adopted the name of this church, and that's how the ancient Atsirtica eventually became Sofia. Its architecture is much more sober than that of Alexander Nevsky, built in red brick, without golden domes or flashy decorations, but it's precisely in that austerity where its historical strength lies. Here we are in front of the true ancient heart of the city. Access to the temple is free, but if you want to go down to the archaeological area beneath the church, where ancient remains and Paleo-Christian tombs are preserved, this section has an additional cost. This tour didn't take us very long, so we started retracing our steps. On the way, we passed in front of one of the most important institutional buildings in the country, the National Assembly of Bulgaria. We are at the Largo, an architectural complex of 3 buildings located in the center of Sofia and built in the 1950s with the intention of becoming the new representative center of the city. From this complex, we highlight here the former headquarters of the now-defunct Bulgarian Communist Party, which is currently used as administrative offices by the National Assembly of Bulgaria. We could have mentioned it yesterday since we were in front of it. Both routes pass by here anyway. If you have more time and want to keep exploring, from here, you can go to the Church of the Seven Saints, an Orthodox temple much loved by the locals, built at the beginning of the 20th century and dedicated to important saints of Slavic Christianity. We, on the other hand, were starting to feel the day wearing on and headed back toward the pedestrian street. It was already late, but there was still time for a light lunch and to enjoy once again the lively atmosphere of downtown Sofia.
Subscribe to the channel.
A Greek restaurant was the chosen option.
Thank you.
In the hours we had left, we got lost in its streets, returning to some places we had already visited, and we went through souvenir shops.
Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the night.
We chose a restaurant, and I'll leave its name here, as well as the receipt so you can get an idea. As always, remember that there were 4 of us. In our case, we went to rest for a few hours, because later the transfer would pick us up to take the flight to Madrid. I told you earlier there was still one more day, right? It's for something essential, the Rila Monastery Day 3 in Sofia. The Rila Monastery is located about 115 kilometers from Sofia. It takes about 2 hours to get there by car. You can also go by public transport, by bus, which takes about 3 hours and costs around €9 each way. There are only a few per day, so check the schedules. As always, it depends on the dates. I'll leave a search tool in the description so you can check the schedules. Or you can also do it as part of a tour. I think this is a really good idea if you don't have a car. It seems like the best option to go without any worries. The tour also visits Ivan Rilsky's cave. The prices vary depending on whether you just want transportation plus an audio guide, or if you want to go with a Spanish-speaking guide. Prices start at €19, and you will need to add €4 for the entrance to the monastery. A QR code with the complete information is appearing on the screen. Let's continue with the practical info since we've started. To stay connected to the internet, we use, as always, Olafle's eSIMs. In this case, the Bulgaria eSIM with unlimited internet. You can get them for the exact number of days you'll be traveling by selecting your travel dates on the calendar. But make sure to always check first if your mobile phones are compatible with eSIM technology and if they're unlocked by your carrier. These tips apply to any eSIM you choose. On the website, you can check if your mobile phone supports the technology. I'm leaving a discount code for your purchase here on the screen and in the description. The hotel we chose, as we mentioned, is very close to Vitoja Boulevard. At the beginning of August, the cost was €90 for a double room with breakfast. The hotel has parking in case you have a car. Every time I mention a room price, you know that it can vary a lot, so make sure to check for your own dates. I also want to tell you that every time I mention a room price, it's with free cancellation, which I always recommend, in case there are any changes to your plans. And with all taxes included, that's the total. Thank you. We arrived by car from Serbia because we were traveling around the Balkans. I'm leaving in the description the place where we always rent cars, as well as the QR code on the screen. Dasha. On the way back, we flew with Bulgarian Air. The flight costs vary a lot depending on the season. We paid about €145. Our main advice is to always travel with insurance or travel assistance. Always. We're giving you 2 options, but whichever one you choose, don't travel without coverage. Credit cards are widely accepted, but still bring some cash. You already saw the dinners and lunches during the tour, and you saw the prices on the receipts we left along the way. Sofia is not an expensive city, so you can treat yourself and choose the places you like. Bulgaria has many more places to visit, but this time we only went to see its capital. If you want to keep traveling with us through the Balkans, we'll leave you with this city that you're sure to like.